Hello and welcome to another phone call catch-up with the gaffer. It's obviously been a month now since our last catch-up, and a fair bit of news since then. And we'll start off with the first bit of news that we had was confirmed the last of our pre-season friendlies.
Hiya Luke, yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? But yes, plenty going on. Pre-season friendlies all sorted. I mean, you know, that process was begun a long time ago, and really looking forward to the games this season. Always sort of slight tinge of disappointment, if I'm honest, that we can't sort of have one at the Shea, but everyone knows why. I'm not having a moan. I understand the reasons, but it would be nice to be able to bring a big hitter down to the Shea, maybe one pre-season. But I think the games we've got are good, and sort of this season we've tried to pack in a little bit more. Obviously, for the first pre-season in a long while, we start with a really strong squad and a strong number of the squad secured. So we felt that this time we'd be able to do a lot more of the work actually in game, a lot more of the tactical preparation in game, rather than when you've got a new group having to spend an awful lot of time on the training ground. We felt we could refine and hone some of those things in game. So it's an exciting time, and should be an interesting pre-season, Luke.
And of course, one of the biggest pieces of news: Tom Pugh became our first summer signing.
Yeah, he's good, Tom. We've had an eye on him for probably over 12 months. Well, it is 12 months. This time last year, we were first sort of weighing up whether or not there was room to bring him in. For one reason or another, that didn't happen. Then there was consideration of a potential loan at points throughout the season. Again, it didn't become necessary. But when we sat down and had a chat over early stages of the summer, it became obvious that it was the right move. Obviously, you know, we couldn't overload the midfield too much, and we feel we've got a good number of players in there now. So Tom's a really strong addition to that central midfield.
And what can the fans expect from Tom?
Yeah, he's a good lad. He's hard work. He fits the mould, really. You know, you'd say in terms of style, probably a bit like a Kane, Thompson, Summers, a bit more box to box. He's got a little bit of the Jack Evans about him, in the sense that he's a bit more willing to run in behind the opposition, and just a really good, honest work ethic, which is a non-negotiable at our place these days. You know, lads have to come in and they have to be willing to put in a shift. So that's what the fans can expect, and somebody who I think they'll grow to really enjoy watching over the next couple of seasons.
And of course, one of the departures we've had is Jack Hunter, who's gone to Hartlepool.
Yeah, similar area of the pitch, and you know, we did look to try and secure Jack. You know, we put an offer out there with him, but obviously we couldn't wait indefinitely, and I know Jack had a lot of interest. So when we pulled the trigger on Tom, it meant that we could no longer continue with to look to bring Jack in as well, because one, you know, financially it wouldn't make sense, and two, from a football perspective, you don't want too many players in one position who aren't going to figure. So yeah, really disappointed to see Jack go in the wider scheme of things, because he's been such a top lad. You know, we're probably the staff, we sort of view him as possibly one of the last types of sort of proper old school footballers. You know, he don't bother with the cut off socks. He never seems to get a rub off the physios. He's never injured. Turns up, works hard, no nonsense, just fantastic. Working with him, real pleasure to work with him, and I know Hartlepool have got an absolute gem on their hands, because he's a top lad and a good footballer. So you know, it's a transient industry, and unfortunately we have to say goodbye sometimes, but we'll look forward to coming up against him this season.
And of course, one player that has signed a new deal, Angelo Capello, on a 2-year as well.
Yeah, Angelo, great again to have around it. I think the little sense of unfinished business really with Ange. I think, you know, we know what we're doing with lads when we're bringing them in, and we know what the sort of pathway looks like, and usually the first season is a really good, solid introduction to National League football, a good, solid introduction to Halifax Town and the staff and how we want to play, and the environment, the pitch and what have you. And Angelo had that. He had a good first season, and then his second season was, probably a little bit stop-start, never really got going, and that's the season when, we've seen it time and again, haven't we? The Jesse Debras of the world, Millie Ali, Tom Bradbury was a great example, Kieran Green. I'm probably missing out a significant number of players there, but the second season, when they're stepping up to the level, when they're really getting established in senior football, is the one when really they really start to shine and attract some attention. I could probably list some of the lads I suspect we're probably going to talk about in the likes of Stotty and Tyler Golden as well. That second season's crucial, and having a consistent run in that second season can really help the players start to show what they're about. And Angelo didn't really get that opportunity this season, so yeah, we love Angie. What the fans see on a Saturday afternoon, that honest, hard-working, never say die attitude, mixed with a little bit of flair and creativity, that's what we get day in, day out, and that's that really sort of represents who he is as a person. He's a great lad, and yeah, we're excited to have him back, but hopeful that we can help him have a really successful season this season.
Of course, you mentioned in there, disappointing to see Tyler Golden and Jamie Stott leave the club.
It is. It's always a shame, and this is something that we talk about every year, don't we? It's really important for us to try and secure some of these players. We can't secure everybody, but secure some of them a little bit more longer term. But it's, I think, really interesting journeys for both of them, and probably mirror each other a little bit. If you remember, both made the debut on the same game away at Barnet. Both, I don't think they'd mind me saying, they had absolute stinkers. Tyler was very poor, and Jamie Stott was probably worse, getting sent off and didn't really turn up on the day. But probably a testament to them, a real good marker of who we are as a club and how we operate as a staff. Worked with them, supported them, gave them opportunity. We knew the quality of the lads, and it, probably a little reminder for some that you don't jump on the backs of these lads too quickly, because look how it's turned out. They persevered, they worked hard, they took on board what they were asked to do by the staff, and we stood by them even when other mistakes happened, and then they've just grown into really fantastic footballers who should be expecting really significant offers from the EFL. I really hope that that's what they achieve, because that's what they deserve. I think probably be a little tinge of disappointment on my part if we ended up seeing them again next season in the National League. I think, much as I'd like to see the lads and I like them as people, I don't want to see them in the National League. They deserve to be in the EFL, and I think that's what they've earned over the course of the time at Halifax Town.
And of course, there's a few rumours going about Kane, Thompson, Sommers. What can you tell us about any of those?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing stuff, but very, very little. There have been a couple of what I would describe as very weak expressions of interest directly to the club. I mean, he's listen. It's actually a good moment to talk about this, really, because he's had a decent first season. Was it a great first season? I would argue not. Has he fulfilled his potential with us yet? No. Kane knows there's loads more to come from him. Is this the time for him to be jumping and making a sideways move? Definitely not. You've got to look at these players, the Jesse Debras, the Tom Bradburys, the Millie Allies, the Kieran Greens, the Jay Benns, the lads who knuckle down, give themselves 2 solid years at Halifax Town in a really good environment where they get the opportunity to flourish and develop and turn into men, really. And then they leave as significant players with 80, 90 appearances under the belt, and that's what he needs to be aspiring to do. And Kane's an intelligent lad. He knows. He'll know that. But I think sometimes the problem is wider than that, and one of the reasons we can be fairly relaxed about the situation here is that Kane's got another year with the club. He's then got an option year, so they take a really significant offer for us to even consider letting him go at this stage. Somebody would really have to prove the spending power to turn our heads. And obviously, listen, I'm guessing there's a bit of work going on behind the scenes, maybe by the agent trying to fuel the rumour mill a little bit, potentially. I don't know. I'm not casting aspersions. I'm just speculating. We come back to the fact that we want to see lads develop. We want to see them fulfil the potential. We want to see them when they do leave us. Hopefully, Kane, Thompson, Summers can be part of a double promotion with Halifax Town in his time with us. I mean, let's hope for the best. That could potentially be a situation. He's got time to get 2 promotions with us, and that would be a fantastic situation to be in, and become a League One player with Halifax Town. Let's hope for that initially. But if that's not the case, then we want these lads to really leave when the time's right, and that's really my biggest desire for them, is that they come to us, they serve the club, they grow up, they develop as players and as young men, and then when they leave, they don't make that sort of pretty nondescript sideways step that underwhelming sort of move that don't really catapult them onto where we believe they should be, and Kane should be aspiring to much bigger. There's a number of players in the squad I could list who are going into the second season now who if they leave us in a year or two, I really have high expectations of. So I think we've got a fantastic squad who, the majority of them now, we can work from back to front. You look at Adam Senior, our first full season with us in the National League. Ryan Galvin, similar. Jack Evans, similar. Kane Thompson, Summers, similar. Flo Hottie, Andrew Oluwabori, even Max Wright. There's a significant number of lads now who've got that first foundational season under the belt and should really be looking to kick on this season. Firstly, to make Halifax Town successful, but then secondly to start to get the attention that they deserve from the levels that they deserve, not just some praise from National League clubs and pundits, but praise and attention from higher. So I'll leave it at that bit on that, Luke. But I think you probably get where I'm coming from.
And obviously, still looking to buy some new players. Where are we with the any potential new signings?
We've got a couple of lads who are agreed. One we can't really make any firm announcement on at the moment because of contractual situation with his current club. But he will be presumably announced at some point, probably towards the end of his contract with his current club. We've got a couple of strong offers out with players who we're hoping to bring in. So at the moment there's a couple very well advanced and a couple who are sort of a little bit advanced who hopefully we'll get some detail on in the next few days.
And what positions are we looking to strengthen in?
I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail because I don't want to prejudice ongoing conversations on those types of things at the moment. But we're looking the obvious areas. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to really work out. We need more players across the back line, and we need more players across the front line. So midfield we feel we're in a really good place. But those two areas of the pitch we're going to have to have players in before the start of the season.
Of course, one concern obviously is the sort of the goal output, and whilst it was an improvement on the season before, how are we going to continue improving in that department?
Yeah, continue to work on it. I think we've grown a reputation as an incredibly miserly team. I think when you look at the returning forwards this season, as I just mentioned, going into the second season, we saw Andrew Oluwabori improve and start to make significant goal contributions in the second half of the season. Max Wright do the same. We'd expect Angelo Capello to contribute. Flo Hottie, as he settled into the club, started to score some really important goals. again off the back of what was quite a stop-start season for him with that awful injury that he was always at risk of suffering in every game he played. You know, he still made a really important contribution to our season in the second half. Obviously, Aidan George came in and then had that interruption with the sending off at Bromley, which upset him. And Aaron Cosgrave, more down to team selection, probably had a bit of a stop-start season as well. So I think there's more goals in us already. That's the first thing I would say. The style of play, I think we started to show from really when we lost Millie Ali the end of January, and we evolved things. We started to show a more attacking side to ourselves, created more opportunities, and scored more goals, and that is how we look to start the season. So there'll be tweaks to the training programme, there'll be tweaks to how we play, and there'll be more personnel coming in, and we expect increased performance from the lads that we've already got in the building, because like I keep rattling on about, you know, they're going into the second season with us, and history would tell us that they become even better players in the second season. So there'll be no lack of pressure on them to contribute more in the way of goals.
And of course, pre-season testing gets underway at the end of this week, I believe.
It does, and I'll see you there, Luke. I think you're going to be down there getting some content, I think you call it. So we'll see you down there. But yes, we're lucky. We've got the facility, and this is the club have organised it and made sure that we've got the very best in terms of the state-of-the-art testing facilities down at Leeds Beckett Uni. So we're down there for the day with the squad doing all the testing, obviously meeting and integrating some of the new lads at that stage, and really it marks the sort of first day of pre-season. We'll be back in then on the Monday to get ourselves going properly, and that's when the running and the football will begin.
Of course, fixtures out in 2.5 weeks. The league then starts a month later, and it's all getting very close.
It is, yeah. It's funny, isn't it? 'Cause talking to staff, I mean, we're busying around it and getting in and around work pretty much on a daily basis anyway at the moment. So we're speaking a lot, and there's the anticipation, the excitement is building for the season, but also it also feels a little bit quiet as well. You know, expecting these flood of signings. I know, you know, there's a few clubs that are still probably where we would normally be at this stage of pre-season or at this stage of the season. They've got a lot of signings to make. The squads are still very small, so we're kind of looking across what other clubs are doing and who they're bringing in, and it still seems relatively quiet. But it's nice for us to be in a position where we can really start planning and preparing for the start of the league season now, because we know that we've got a real solid base of players already in the building.
Of course, it's probably still a little bit early for predictions, but where do you want and expect us really to finish this season?
Yeah, listen, people think that I'm mad, but we want to win the league. You know, we don't start the league season with any other sort of hope and expectation, and the reality is, over 3 of my 5 seasons attached with the club, we've made the playoffs. We haven't won a game yet in the playoffs, which is a real disappointment and a failing on our part. You know, that's something that we've got to certainly change. If we aren't successful in finishing in that top position, then we've got to be really pushing to make sure that we finish in the playoff positions. And then if we're successful in doing that, then the next objective is to make sure that we turn that stat around and start to win some playoff games. So listen, it's all talk at the minute, because ultimately we've got to go out and do our very best to win that first game, and then once that game's over, we've got to do our very best to win the second one, and that's how you do it. But over the course of the season, we want to be up there competing, and we want to be putting ourselves in with a chance of getting promoted to League Two, because, you know, that's what success is deemed as. come the end of the season, and if we do everything as well as we possibly can, as a group of staff, as a group of players, as a club, then we feel there's no reason why we can't be up there and shouldn't be threatening to get into League Two.
Of course, obviously, several young players have been out on loan last season. Chukukwa, Lavelle, Sinfield. Will they be getting more opportunities in the first team this season?
They should, yeah. It's up to them. You know, the meetings at the end of the season with them, it was made clear they can't come back into pre-season. They've got very specific fitness programs over the closed season. They've got to come back stronger, quicker. They've got to come back with a sense that actually they've got an ability to take a shirt in the team. So, you know, their attitude is the determining factor. We know they've got ability, and now they've got to show the attitude to suggest that Lavelle can dislodge a Kane, Thompson, Summers or a Jack Evans, and Jamil Chukukwa can dislodge a Max Wright at right wing, and Frankie Sinfield obviously on the other side. So the onus is on them. We know they've got the ability, and now they've had that first season with us as professional footballers. Now they've got to really turn it on and try and do that. Now they're all young enough and they're all at a stage of the development where there's obviously a plan B. But the onus is on them, and we made it very clear in the end of season meetings with them that they've got to view themselves as first team players, and they've got to go out now and earn a shirt, much the same as lads of their age have done at other clubs and have done at this club in the past. So yeah, it's on them now to go and do that.
And are there any other sort of current youth team players that potentially could make the step up sometime soon?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's been a couple of lads who've trained with the first team over the course of last season. There's 4 of those players will be in for pre-season. You know, we're very keen, and you know, this has always been something that has been important to me ever since coming to the club with Pete, that we bring in a strong core of local players. You know, when I say local, I mean West Yorkshire. If we've got the opportunity to sign Halifax players, then all the better. But at least lads from West Yorkshire, and I want that identity within the group. Not to say that players from further afield, like me, I'm not a West Yorkshire lad, but you know, people from further afield can add value and can be important to the club. But I think it's important that there is that core who really sort of drive the identity of Halifax Town, and that also feeds into lads coming out of the youth team, because there's nothing more exciting than having homegrown players featuring for your town team. And you know, again, you know, we've had minimal success, haven't we? We had a bit of success with Jay Ben, and maybe disappointing in some respects that we didn't see more of him at the Shea, but obviously he's definitely a success story for the academy and for the club, and we're working really hard to make more through Frankie Sinfield and Ted Lavelle, both academy products, and we want to keep that conveyor belt going, and we're working incredibly hard alongside Steve Nicol and his staff to make sure that we try and get at least a player or two each season into the first team environment, give them the support, give them the coaching, give them the wider opportunity, and then, you know, give them the pressure to go and take that opportunity. So it's something that excites us as a staff, and the work Steve Nicol does is phenomenal. So to see him rewarded with his players going on and being successful would be really pleasing.
How often do you speak to the chairman?
It's a good question. How often? Quite a lot at the minute. It varies, you know, depending on sort of where we're up to with various things. The tough thing at the moment is obviously, you know, we're liaising very closely on contract offers with players and contract negotiations. Yeah, we talk about every penny that gets spent. You know, we've got to prepare ourselves for the upcoming season. Pre-season's a time when we need to spend money on equipment, kit, making sure things are prepared and we've got what we need, we've got the tools we need to do the job that we're trying to do.
And what's been your toughest experience at the club so far?
blimey, toughest experience at the club. I don't know, Luke. Toughest experience at the club. I think that first season was really tough because maybe naively, not the whole season, but there were certain points of it, and of course it's always tough when you're not performing, and it's certainly tough when you're not getting results, and obviously when the fans are unhappy, that's tough. But they're not always the toughest things. The toughest thing for me, I think, probably was during that first season, having such a squad of individuals with good reputations. We really struggled early days to make them gel and to get them to perform as a team. And I think that was probably the toughest time because maybe naively I believed that this is a promotion team. You know, as soon as we got the squad sorted and we got towards the end of pre-season, I felt, you know, this group of players should be strong enough to get us right up there. And then, you know, we spent an awful long time trying to get them to gel and failing. So that was a real tough time because it was probably a bit of a shock to me and some of the staff that we struggled so much early doors to actually to find the right mix and find the right blend of players to start turning around the results and starting to perform.
And maybe on a slightly lighter note, but what's been your favourite away ground that you've managed at?
Well, these generally the sort of bigger ones. Listen, I like going to Oldham. I've got an affinity there just because of the time I spent with the club, and obviously there's a lot of people there behind the scenes that I still know. So it's always nice returning to a place where you see familiar faces. That's pleasant. And obviously we've got a decent record against them at the minute, so long may that continue. Then Notts County was a pleasure, always a pleasure going to there because there was just a slightly more significant air about the place than maybe some of the grounds that we've been to away. But I'd say for away clubs, the race course, once the sort of the new regime came in, there was a different atmosphere there, and the games felt like an occasion. So going to the race course and playing so well for probably 70-75 minutes of that game where we looked like we were going to go on and win it, and then they just overran us in the latter stages of that game. But that felt like a really different type of experience to your run-of-the-mill National League game going there in that first season with the new regime in place. You wouldn't class Wembley as an away ground, would you, Luke?
Oh, that's basically a home ground at this point.
Let's hope so. Let's hope we're saying that come the end of the season. But yeah, nothing trumps managing at Wembley. That's like the stuff of dreams, isn't it? So yeah, that obviously trumps everything.
And which player takes the longest to get ready?
I don't know is the honest answer to that. So at the training ground, what we do as a staff is we try our best to stay right out of the way of the players' changing rooms and those areas. So that I think, in fact, I'd be surprised if the players have ever seen any of the staff around their changing room block, because we just believe that's their domain and that's their territory. So at the training ground, by the time they arrive up at the gym next to our pitches, I'd probably out in Aaron Cosgrave here. He always seems to be the last one arriving at the cabin where we do our gym work and we start our morning. So I'm going to throw it on him because he's always last up. Don't necessarily mean he's last in or last ready, but he's generally last up to the area that where we get our work started. But to be fair to them, they're never late. I think we had one or two lads who were late on last season who in fact, it might not even been last season. So yeah, very, very rare that we have a late arrival. One or two who were right on the minutes, but in most cases they're pretty good at the timekeeping. And then on a match day, again, it's hard to say really, because you've got a couple of lads who have got that superstition where they want to be the last out of the changing room. Festus is one of them who's always hanging around. He's always ready, but he's always hanging around for everyone else to get out of the changing room before he goes out. And bizarre that he thinks that's going to determine whether or not he has a good game or whether or not we win. So I'm going to have to do a bit of digging onto what he's expecting to come of that. But yeah, they're the sort of the two lads who would pin that on.
And if you could pick an 11 from your entire time at the club, who would you pick?
Oh mate, I can't do that. It's like asking me to pick my favourite child. Well, listen, I think this probably loops back a little bit to the early conversation. So I'm not sure I'd be able to, off the top of my head, just pick a starting 11 in positions. But what I can do is I can say, I think our aim is for these lads to really fulfil the potential, to really help us be successful, help us kick on, but by the time they leave us, to be leaving us as the best player they can be at that stage. And I'd say, the moves that they make generally tell you whether or not we've been successful at that. So let's go through them. Jesse Debra's the obvious one, performed exceptionally well in his second season at the club and got a really good move. Tom Bradbury, the same. Fantastic second season, really good move. Millie Ali, I'd say, was halfway through a fantastic season and got a steady move, but to a very good level. Then you go to Jack Senior. I think he was in his third season actually, Jack. But he moved on to a very good club and to a very good level, having had a fantastic season with Halifax Town. Jay Ben, of course, in a similar vein. I think Kieran Green, similar vein, fantastic second season and made a really good move at the right time. So they're the types of things that sort of make me gauge whether or not a lad's had a successful time at Halifax Town. And I think there's some who've made a slightly more underwhelming sort of sideways step. And I find that a little bit disappointing. I would always say, listen, get that extra season with us and aspire to be getting to the highest level you possibly can, whether that's League 2, League 1, but use this time to make yourself the very best player you can. Be successful with us, help us try and get promoted. And if we don't manage that, then you've got to be looking at cracking on and really aspiring to be a League 1 footballer, because the majority of our players are 22 to 24, so still loads of development in them, loads of time. All the trappings, the money, the cars, all the lifestyle, it can all follow. It can all happen when they're in the late 20s. But the reality is, this time with us now is to really learn how to be a successful footballer and really be a fantastic person around the training ground and around match days and around the group. And those who've achieved that with us have taken a really positive next step. And then on the top of that, we've got to look at the other lads. I'd say Sam Johnson, fantastic professional, great servant to the club and has stuck around and really contributed to Halifax Town. You've got Luke Summerfield in a similar vein, a fantastic human being, great professional, and has really contributed in his time with us to the club, to how we play and to the group in how he behaves. So there's that doesn't really answer the question of a great sort of starting 11, but I think the where people generally end up, especially the lads who are 25 and under, when they leave us, that tells you really how successful we've been in helping them and how good they've been as a player.
And what have you made of England at the Euros so far?
Yeah, not a lot. Probably like the rest of the nation. Just a bit frustrating, isn't it? You look at what some of these players are doing week in, week out, and then they come together and can't seem to make it work. But maybe this is us. We get the results we need against the weaker teams, and then start to perform better as we get into the knockout stages, all being well. So hopefully that'll be the case in the next week or two.
Thank you for your time, Gaffer.
No, it's a pleasure, Luke. Always nice to speak to you, mate. And sorry for waffling on a few points. Once you get me started, I can't seem to shut myself up. So thank you for that, and I hope it's useful for you and the fans.